Welcome to the Institute of Advanced Astrology, Metaphysics, and Quantum Innovation, the IAAQI, and this is the complete manual of Genius Wizard Astrologery, the Arcane Edition for registered aspirants only. And what we're going to do in this video is go over a few different volumes I have in here. I think we have about 7. So Volume 0, the Primordium Before You Begin, the Invocation of Preparedness. To study the infinite, one must first become a vessel of infinite capacity. Here's our threefold self-assessment. First, the cauldron of humility. Can you abandon everything you think you know? Second, we have the lantern of discernment. Can you hold multiple contradictory truths as simultaneously valid? And third, we have the anvil of woe. Can you persist when the cosmos appears silent? Let's look at the preliminary year, the novitiate of dust and stars. First, we have our physical regimen, mastery of breath, pranayama, Wim Hof method, to regulate the internal biosphere, circadian alignment with solar and lunar cycles, purification diets key to planetary hours, our mental purification, the empty sky meditation, 30 minutes daily of observing thought as ephemeral astral meteoroids, journaling a non-dominant hand to access the hemispheric subconscious. Here's our foundational literacy, mandatory fluency in symbolic logic, basic tensor mathematics, classical mythology, and the history of alchemical thought. You must build a telescope and grind your own lens. You must keep an analog, hand-drawn ephemeris for one full solar cycle. Okay. Now that we got through Volume 0, let's take a look at Volume 1, which is the Triune Foundation. And the section is the Astrologer's Eye, Celestial Literacy as Holographic Decoding. The first module in this section being the Alphabet of Light, where we explore planetary intelligences. So beyond just keywords, Jupiter is the mathematical function of expansion, the experiential quality of optimistic pressure, the sound of a brass section, the taste of honey, the neurological state of dopamine-rich anticipation. You'll spend 1 month per planet consuming its mythology, music, metal, and color until you dream it and it's you. We have our zodiacal constellates, not signs, but 12 sectors of cosmic consciousness. Aries as the Big Bang impulse, Libra as the quantum entanglement seeking harmony. Each sign studied as a fundamental force of nature. And then we have the houses as reality interface terminals. The first house isn't self, but the real-time rendering port of the soul. The 12th house is the background code and memory cache. Learn to debug life through house analysis. Alright, Module 1.2 is the grammar of aspect. We're looking at aspects as phase relationships. A square isn't a challenge, but a 90-degree phase shift, creating resonant interference, the engine of manifestation. A trine is 120 degrees of harmonic flow, often inducing complacency without conscious engagement. Minor aspects and hidden geometries. The quincunx, 150 degrees as the quantum jump, requiring a paradigm shift. Quintile, 72 degrees as a signature of genius and obsession. Grand irrationality of the 7th harmonic, 102.86 degrees, and its link to chaos magic. Orb is probability density. So a 10 degrees orb for a conjunction represents a wide diffuse probability cloud. A 0.17 degrees orb is a laser-focused inevitable manifestation. Calculate orbs using logarithms, not simple degrees. Our last module in this section is Module 1.3, Advanced Cartography, Asteroid and Centaur Dialects, Chiron as the non-local wound, Ceres as the law of reciprocity, Pholus as the released genie, Eris as the unavoidable truth. Fixed stars as ancient protocols, Sirius as the initiation beacon, Algol as the severance algorithm. Learn to calculate Parana Talonta. Stars rising, setting with planets. Dark moon and trans-Pluto. Lilith, black moon Lilith, as the autonomous fractal. Trans-Plutonic Isis. Osiris, Admetos, Vulcan, as personified metaphysical laws beyond the known solar system. Okay. Now, our section 2 is the metaphysician's mind, architectural ontology, module 2.1, involving the 7 hermetic laws, laboratory manual. Here's our mentalism, our correspondence, vibration. So our mentalism is the all is mind. Practical, a recharting exercise. You meditate on a chart until you perceive it as a living thought in the mind of the universe, then redraw it from memory, noting what changes, and the changes are your ingress point. Correspondence, as above so below. Practically map your bedroom below onto your natal chart above. Planet in your 4th house governs your foundation. Where is that area of your home? Clean it, consecrate it. The vibration, nothing rests. Hum the pitch of each planet using the planetary choir tuning, and feel the vibration of a transit before you interpret it. Polarity. Everything is dual. Practical. Take any negative chart placement, for example, Mars squares Saturn, and articulate its highest positive expression. They are the same energy, different polarity. You have a rhythm. Everything flows. Chart your personal tides of energy, intellect, and emotion over 3 months. Correlate them to lunar phases, mercurial retrogrades, etc. Find your personal rhythm, then write it. Cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Karmic traceback. Use secondary progression to find the planetary alignment at the root cause of a current life pattern. Gender. Gender is in everything. Analyze a chart for receptive yin and projective yang balance. Prescribe activities to cultivate the opposite principle where there is stagnation. And our module 2.2 is the Akashic interface with our technique and our other technique. So we have the Saturnian gate, where we use Saturn in the chart as the access point to the soul's Akashic records. Saturn's sign, house, and aspects describe the security clearance and filing system of that soul's past experiences. Next, we have the lunar reflection. We use Rahu and Rahu's ruler's position, also known as the north node of the moon, and it's the current life Akashic teacher. So Ketu, the south node of the moon, the ruler position for Ketu, is the old software running in the background. Create a dialogue between them. Module 2.3, Subtle Anatomy as Astrobiology. So we have the etheric double, governed by the moon, and Virgo, the 6th house. Its health is read via the part of fortune and lunar aspects. Astral emotional body, governed by Venus, Mars, and the water signs. Its condition is shown by the moon's nodes and Venus's aspects. The mental body, governed by Mercury and the air signs. Its acuity and biases are shown by Mercury, Gemini, Sagittarius, and the 3rd, 9th house axes. The causal body, karmic blueprint, governed by Saturn and the 10th house. Its lessons are encoded in Saturn's sign, house, aspects, and the planetary ruler of the south node. Okay? Now here's our section 3, the quantum innovator's hand, applied potentiality. So our first module in section 3 is temporal mechanics and block universe navigation, with our theory and then our practices. So our theory is past, present, and future exists as a static block. Our consciousness moves through it like a scanner reading a DVD. Transits are events happening to us, but our consciousness intersecting with pre-existing celestial geometry. We practice precognition. During a powerful transit, for example, Jupiter conjunct a natal sun. Sit meditation before the exact hit. Feel the future event as a pressure wave approaching. Record the impressions. This is observing the future segment of the block. We practice retrocausality. During a current challenging transit, for example, Saturn square natal moon, send compassion and wisdom backward along your timeline to the last time this aspect occurred in progression or transit. Observe shifts in present moment emotional charge. Now our second module for section 3 is the waveform natal chart, where we use visualization, calculation, and application. So what we can do is visualize each planet not as a dot, but a shimmering probability cloud, brightest at its exact degree, fading through its orb. Aspects aren't lines, but interference patterns between these clouds. Okay, now that we visualize this, we calculate, and we use the Schrödinger astrology equation, simplified for IAAQI use. Here's our equation, where A equals amplitude, orb strength, O equals phase, degree, and P equals planetary archetype potential. This generates a visual wave interference map of the chart. And now we have our application, probability collapse, where we identify the most uncollapsed, widest, most diffuse waveform in a client's chart. This is their greatest area of potential, freedom, design a ritual, focus observation to collapse that waveform toward a desired outcome. Module 3.3, quantum entanglement and synastry. We have our theory and we have our practice. So our theory is two people's charts don't interact. Their waveforms entangle, creating a new third entity, the relationship field. Composite chart is its snapshot. We practice bond tuning for a tense square between two people's planets. For example, his Mars square her Venus. Have them both hum the planetary tones of Mars and Venus simultaneously, and slowly modulate to the tone of the trine aspect, 120 degrees. This acoustically retunes the entanglement. Volume 2, we have the synthesis of genius, our practicum, the 12 grand synthesis, year-long lab course. All right, each synthesis is a 30-day immersion, combining astrological observation, metaphysical ritual, and quantum measurement. We have our synthesis of the seed, being Aries, the first house, and Mars, planting an intention at the new moon. In Aries, tracking its momentum via Mars transits, measuring growth via biofeedback. We have synthesis of substance, Taurus, the second house, Venus, consecrating a talisman during a Venus-Earth trine, charging it with values, tracking its effect on financial flow. Synthesis of protocol, Gemini, third house, Mercury, writing a new personal language during a Mercury retrograde, testing its clarity post-retrograde. Synthesis of the vessel, Cancer, fourth house, Moon, performing a home foundation blessing at a Cancer new moon, mapping emotional shifts over the lunar month. So what are we doing here? We're looking over our sign, we'll say ZS for zodiac sign, our house placements, where that zodiac sign is ruling or curated from, and then we're looking at the planet. Okay. Synthesis of the star, Leo, the fifth house, the sun, a solar activation ritual at the sun's exaltation degree, 19 degrees Aries, tracking creative output and heart coherence. Synthesis of the algorithm, Virgo, sixth house, Mercury, designing a hyper-efficient daily routine using the Virgo new moon, optimizing health metrics. Now we have our synthesis of the mirror, Libra, seventh house, Venus, a partner-based ritual at the Libra equinox to project and reconcile shadow elements seen through the other. Synthesis of the alchemist, Scorpio, eighth house, Pluto, a controlled death of self ritual during a Pluto transit, measuring psychological transformation via EEG and dream logs. Synthesis of the beacon, Sagittarius, the ninth house, Jupiter, a journey vision quest timed to a Jupiter trine, mapping synchronicities as navigation points. Synthesis of the architect, Capricorn, the 10th house, Saturn, building a physical structure, altar model over a Saturn return, encoding each stage with Saturnine lessons. Synthesis of the network, Aquarius, 11th house, Uranus, creating a group mind meditation at a Uranus station, testing for non-local information transfer. And technically, Aquarius isn't just Uranus. Speaking about this in a non-traditional sense, because usually we see Saturn and Capricorn together. But here's the synthesis of the ocean, Pisces, the 12th house, and Neptune, even though Pisces is really also Jupiterian. So this is a supervised isolation tank dissolution ritual during a Neptune shrine, recording impressions of the unified field. Now here's our master synthesis. The horary magic loop, posing a horary question, performing a targeted ritual to influence the probability field, then recasting the chart 24 hours later to observe shift. Mundane weather magic, using the chart of a nation or city to identify planetary pressure points, then performing large-scale group meditations to gently diffuse collective tension. Bilocation of consciousness, using the ascendant-descendant axes as a space-time door, sending focused awareness to the geographical location opposite one's birthplace on the globe. Let's look at Volume 3, Tools of the Artisan, Specifications and Construction. Alright, so now let's look at Volume 3. We have our hardware, which involves the IAAQI orrery. It's a physical brass model with planetary spheres that glow with variable intensity based on current astrological strength. Connects via quantum entangled crystals to a digital overlay showing probabilistic wavefronts. The Chronos Resonator, a wearable headset that emits subtle frequency pulses matching the dominant planetary transits. Alpha waves for Venusian periods, gamma for Martian, theta for Neptunian. Includes EEG feedback to train brain state alignment. The Akasha tablet, slate of pure black obsidian. When a natal chart is drawn upon it with conductive silver ink, touching a planet causes corresponding chakra points in the practitioner's body to resonate, used for somatic chart diagnosis. Okay. Now that we've gone through our hardware, let's look at our software, which involves Logos AI, an artificial intelligence trained on every extant astrological text, myth, and psychological case study. Doesn't interpret, but cross-references, showing you every possible archetypal thread connecting a Venus-Mars square from the myth of Ares and Aphrodite to modern relationship studies. Here's our probability lens, plug-in for standard astrology software that renders charts as topographical probability maps with hot zones of high fate density and cool zones of free will. Next, we have our consumables. Planetary incenses, precisely compounded from 7 herbs each, corresponding to planetary hours and signs. Saturnine incense contains grounding myrrh, but also visionary mugwort, bridging limitation and transcendence. Our resonance elixir is homeopathic level dilutions of metal. Gold for Sun, iron for Mars, charged in specific astrological moments, taken sublingually to attune the physical body to celestial patterns. Volume 4, The Discipline of the Art, Daily, Weekly, Yearly Practices. So our daily grind, a wizard's morning, we have our astral hygiene pre-dawn, we salt bath, clearing a personal aura and workspace with bell and incense, celestial alignment dawn, observation of sunrise, noting planets visible, calculation of the planetary hour of the day, setting intention accordingly. Chart meditation in the morning, 20 minutes focusing on one element of the day's transit chart, absorbing its quality. Quantum journal evening, recording the day's events, synchronicities, and emotional weather, correlating them to transits, noting probability collapses observed. Okay. Let's look at our weekly ritual. Sabbath alignment. Each day is ruled by a planet, sun day, moon day, etc. Weekly ritual deepens connection to that planetary intelligence. Saturn Saturday, deep cleaning, restructuring, facing fears, ancestral work. Sun Sunday, conscious celebration, creativity, honoring the central self, vitality practices. Next we have our yearly retreat, the solar return immersion. 3-day solar retreat beginning 12 hours before the exact moment of your solar return. Phase 1 being 12 hours before, purification and release, burning list of what you are completing. Phase 2, the exact moment, meditation at the exact minute of the return, recording visions, words, feelings, casting the solar return chart for the year. In Phase 3, 12 hours after, integration and planning, mapping the major themes of the new chart onto your coming year's calendar. All right. Volume 5, The Living Library, Case Studies and Forbidden Knowledge. We have our case study Alpha, the realignment of a client's cursed family line, Pluto in the 4th house, Saturn conjunct IC, using genetic timeline therapy and ancestral altar work, time to eclipse cycles, 5-year results. Case study Omega, using the future progression technique to guide a tech startup to $1 billion valuation by electing a corporation and launch dates that created a Jupiter trine feedback loop in the corporate chart. Black Saturn Files, analysis of mass causality events through the lens of Saturn-Pluto cycles with ethical protocols for preventative group meditation. And the Hermes Trismegistus fragments, translated pages from the purported IAAQI founding text, discussing the music of the spheres as literal dimensional harmonics. Almost finished here. Let's get into Volume 6, our ethics, the 111 precepts. So a few select examples is Precept 7, we have Precept 23, Precept 45, Precept 67, Precept 89, and Precept 111. So Precept 7, you shall not use astrological knowledge to create dependency. Precept 23, you shall offer the most empowering interpretation possible, even if it is not the most probable. Precept 45, you shall cleanse your instruments and space after each consultation as if it were a surgical theater. Precept 67, you shall take 1 lunar cycle of silence per solar year to recalibrate to the cosmic signal, not the human noise. Precept 89, you shall remember that you are a co-creator, not a master. The cosmos is your collaborator, not your tool. Precept 111, the final precept is written in light on the back of your retina. You will see it only when you have mastered the previous 110. Now let's look at our last volume in this, Initiation and Graduation, the Demonstration, the final attunement process. The desert, 40 days, solitude with only the naked sky, and ephemeris and blank parchment. You must return with 1 original astrological metaphysical theorem. Trial of the twin, you will be paired with a fellow aspirant whose chart is your near-perfect opposite. You must synthesize a joint ritual that produces a measurable positive third thing, a piece of art, a healed subject, a scientific datum. For examples. And now we have our demonstration of synthesized artistry, thesis defense, a public performance before the IAAQI Council. IAAQI Council. Examples from history. So we have Alara of the Vale, 1892, predicted the exact hour of a major earthquake using harmonic charts, then led a meditation that reduced structural damage in the targeted village by statistically significant margins. Dr. Reese Thorne, 2028, used a quantum entangled network of participants to hold a beneficial astrological configuration stable for 72 hours beyond its natural transit, documented by Global Consciousness Project random number generators. Upon success, you will receive the circlet of the corridor, a simple silver band etched with your unique natal chart. It serves as a passive antenna and focus. You're granted access to the orrery chamber and the title Magister Magistra Astro Quantica. Your work now truly begins. Here's our final admonition, aspirant. This manual is a map. The territory is your own consciousness stretched across the loom of space-time. Stars are the weights that shape the weave. Your will is the shuttle. Do not merely read this. Breathe it, question it, argue with it in the margin. Burn it if you must, and rewrite it from the ashes of your own experience. We await you at the crossroads of the certain and the possible. Subscribe for more advanced astrology content. Like, comment, and we will see you there with peace and love.